Hello and welcome to the Prosperity Portal podcast. I'm your host, Jill Alana, and I'm here to support you in everything you need to prosper in health, wealth, and relationship. I'm obsessed with everything manifestation, soul path, intuition, somatic embodiment healing, and I'm looking forward to supporting you in liberating to a life of love and luxury. True empowerment, true sovereignty, and aligned soul manifestation. I'm the founder of Jill Alana International, Jai Activations, and Jai Breathwork. And without further ado, let's go to the show and get you resourced in everything pro your spirit. Hello, this is Jill Alana coming to you live. So we're going to be talking about a few things today. If I'm looking down, it's because my notes are down there. Yes, I took notes. I'm a new Jill. I never used to take notes, for those of you who have been in my world a while. Okay, so firstly, we're going to start with soul path. If you are not fulfilled in an area of your life, you are off path. Because even when something is being birthed through you, or you're in transition, but you're actually on path, you are still fulfilled. Just like when I was taking my shamanic training and moved to Arizona, even though I hadn't started my business yet, well, I had a Reiki business, but it was kind of just a side gig at that point, I was still fulfilled. I was fulfilled in learning the tools. I was fulfilled in what I was doing. It wasn't easy. It's not supposed to be easy, but there was a sense of deep fulfillment. So when we are on path in creating our dream life, when we're in the creation of it before the manifestation happens, before it's actualized, before that thing that we desire on a soul level is literally in our life, we will have a deep sense of fulfillment. Despite the challenges, despite the initiations, despite the struggles, I don't like that word, let's reframe that word. Despite the challenges and the initiations, we will still have a deep sense of fulfillment on the journey. So why don't we follow our soul, our intuition, and why do we follow our logic alone, typically in this society? Because most people, firstly, are not in their bodies. They're spinning in their mind. And the wisdom lives in our body, in ourselves. We receive information through our body. This is why, if you've had an intuition of something before it's happened, or you knew it was happening, but you didn't have the information it was happening while it was happening, or you met that person, they were just off, but you didn't know why, and then later found out why they were off, that's your intuition. This lives in the body. So most people are spinning in their minds, and they're going by the constructs that they've been taught, or they're responding to trauma instead of receiving that information. That's the first thing. In order to shift this and to come back to your body, back to literally the oracle that you are, which is literally just your intuition, your intuitive guidance, you have to bring your awareness out of the mind and into the body. How do you do this? With somatics. If you've been in my world, you know this is the biggest key, one of the biggest keys that I use is somatic healing, somatic alchemy, energy work, shamanic breath work. I call it Jai Breathwork now. Because from that place, we are a clear channel where we can follow our intuitive guidance and actually be clear on what it is versus what our mind is telling us, what the fear is telling us, what the limiting beliefs are telling us, what our trauma is telling us. So this is one of the biggest keys we're using in Soul-Led Life, which is my 6-month container. The doors close on the 17th. If you want to jump in now, I highly recommend it. It is going to be, firstly, we have such a powerful group. And when you're in a powerful group like that, you start to attune to their energy, to their thoughts. When one person starts winning and quantum leaping and shifting their life, it not only inspires you to do the same, but it actually starts to shift your energy. And then it becomes like this group of people who are shifting at such profound rates. And it's literally, it feels like magic, but it's actually just quantum physics and neuroscience. So that is one of the things why we don't follow our soul, which again, if you're unfulfilled in any area of your life, even if you're not where you desire to be, but you're on the path of it, you will still feel a deep sense of fulfillment. Look, when I am creating something, I am just as fulfilled as I'm creating it as I am when it manifests in 3D reality, when it actualizes. Like if I'm creating a retreat, I am just as fulfilled and excited when I'm booking the venue, finding the chef, when I'm planning the retreat, when I'm buying all the things for it and the gifts and all of it, as when I'm there. Of course, there's like another level when I'm there, but I'm already a match to it. It's not like, oh, this feels awkward, because I've already lived it in my body, in the energy as I was creating it. This is what I mean. Or if I'm launching a course, even before the first person signs up, I'm already in the energy of it, of me teaching it, of the miracles happening in it, okay? The other thing is because you don't have accountability or community or mentorship. One of these pieces is missing. These are all in soul-led life. By the way, I am going to be your embodied mentor because this is literally, I'm a full embodiment of living a soul-led life. I have been, even before I understood the energetics of this, before I studied healing, I've always followed my soul, even and especially during the times it was very scary and my logical mind told me not to, but something deep inside me told me I had to. And when we don't have a community, it can be really difficult. At first, I didn't have a community that was doing the same thing. I didn't have somebody to keep me accountable, and I did not have mentorship, and that was very difficult. It was really, really difficult to keep walking those steps, and I probably could have been steps ahead of what I was at that time. I remember the first time, way back in the day, I got an acting mentor, and I started to shift so radically just because I had somebody who was the living embodiment to guide me, to hold that vision with me and for me. And that shifted everything. This is what I've taken into business, and this is what I've taken into energy healing. This is what I've taken into trauma healing and addiction healing. I've always had mentorship in the thing that I desired by somebody who was embodied in what I desired. In order to become a match to what we desire, we have to surround ourselves with it. We have to literally make an investment into something we want to land in. Also, community and accountability. We start to literally shift so radically when we're in a community of people who are doing the same work that we're doing. Meaning they don't have to have the same job, but that they're doing the inner work. They're taking those leaps. They're having the courage to go out and do the thing, offer the thing, share about what they do, maybe ask for a raise, like whatever their growth thing is that's in alignment with what they desire. Book the venue for the retreat they want to host, launch the online thing. It is so much more powerful to do it in a community. This is the power of mastermind. This is why I invested a lot of money in masterminds over the years. I'm in a high level one right now. And accountability. When you have a community or a mentor or both, which is in soul-led life, to hold you accountable, it becomes a lot easier to do the thing, because you don't want to be the odd one out that's not actually applying the tools, that's not taking the steps. And when you take the steps, you have people to cheer you on. Doesn't matter about the result. The result's a byproduct. It will happen. It's inevitable. But the initial steps and the steps that are hard to take create the result. And so when we have people to acknowledge and cheer us on as we take the step, before we take the step to hold us accountable to take it, and then we take it and then they celebrate that, we get the reward from that. And then the manifestation is just another reward. It's like the cherry on top. Because on our soul path, it truly, the the tangible things in the 3D are the cherry on top. They are the result of who we become. But it's the hero's journey, it's the becoming that is really what's rewarding on an internal level, on a soul level, the level from God, from source, from infinite intelligence, whatever you believe in, from Jesus. I believe in God and I believe in Jesus, but if infinite intelligence resonates more, then go with that. So we're going to talk here about a couple more things: escapism versus following your soul path. But first, I want to talk about the investment versus the cost. So a lot of people will say to me, I'm just gonna I desire this thing and I want to shift this in my life, but maybe in a couple months, and they're in this gray area, which is the worst area to be because it leaks energy. When we haven't made a decision, you look at any successful entrepreneur, they got good at making decisions. And maybe they made a mistake, but the mistake wasn't a mistake, it was a lesson. And by the time the person who's not made a decision for months or weeks makes a decision, that person that made maybe the lesson / some people think it's a mistake has already learned the lesson, moved past it, and created the revenue or the container or the program or whatever their business is before this person's even made a choice. And so they get really good at trusting themselves, trusting their intuition, which is what we were just talking about, and trusting a higher power that they're working with: God, source, divine intelligence, whatever word resonates. So, hang on one sec. The cost, okay, there's something called opportunity cost. And this is basically what I was just talking about. In that time frame that people don't make a decision, whether it's a yes or no, the opportunity cost is massive. So say we are learning about money. This is not the topic of conversation, but I'm using it as an example. Say we're learning about money, and somebody is like, okay, I want to learn about this, but I don't know, I'm penny pinching, and when I make more money, I'll learn about it. Just so backwards. Say they take 3 months. Well, in that 3 months, if they actually learned about the energetics of money, they would be making a lot more money than they're currently making. So not only did they lose that time, but maybe, integrating abundance codes within 1 month, maybe they're making $2,000 more a month. And then within 2 months, maybe they're making $3,000. And then maybe within 3 months, they're making $6,000 more a month. And then maybe it starts to compound now. So within 4 months, it's $10K, right? Within 5 months, maybe it's $20K. And so not only did they lose those 3 months, but now that other person that actually made the choice and actually invested in the thing, the skill that they wanted to learn is compounded ahead of you. So the cost is the cost of the indecision, of the inaction, versus the investment. The only time to choose to make an investment is now. Tomorrow does not exist. The only moment is now. The power of now. Eckhart Tolle. He was literally one of my igniters at the beginning of my spiritual awakening. Not by his book, but his book's great. I used to serve him at a restaurant. It's a long story. There was a lot of synchronicities, and he ended up working in my section a day, moving to my section a day that I wasn't supposed to work. He was actually with an old friend of mine. It's the craziest story. And I was like, is that Eckhart Tolle? And then he would come in and ask for my section, and he taught me a lot. And that was a big inspiration of going into meditation and energy healing and so forth. The point here is that there is only one moment, and in the quantum field, time doesn't actually exist, which is how we can collapse time. But we need to start making decisions as the version of ourselves that already has that thing. I'll give you an example. I am looking at scaling my business right now. I'm also restructuring my business because I decided there are certain things that I want to do more often. And the way it's just it's structured right now didn't really allow that. And so with my mentor, I started looking, my business mentor, at my business and the things that were in alignment and the things that weren't in alignment, and structuring it in a way that's going to support my lifestyle and my desires, so that I get to use my lifestyle, I get to use the wisdom I learn in my life through creating my life to teach to other people to help them create their dream life, but not compromise my dream life, which I kind of got into a little bit when I was just serving clients and helping them build their own life, which I love doing. But I was like, wait, I forgot about my creation, which is how I started this whole thing anyways. So the point here is you are losing so much opportunity by not taking the step your soul is asking you to take. By staying at the job that your soul is like, get me out of here. Or sometimes your soul is asking you to take a job to learn skills that your ego's like, I would never do that. I learned so much. I was just talking about this on an intuitive read in the Prosperity Portal membership to a client. I learned so much from serving in restaurants about how to run a business. I didn't know when I was serving in restaurants, I was learning skills that were translatable to running a business. And then they became second nature to me. So my soul was calling me into, spin back at 17, I was working in corporate with a job that would have set me for life, okay? Would have set me for life. Right away, I'm like, this is not for me. Everyone called me crazy. I gave my notice after my 2-week notice. I was there for a month. I learned very quickly that a big portion of our life is our work, and that I was not going to be working it was an 8 to 5, I think, maybe 8 to 6, not a 9 to 5, with a job that literally numbed my brain. Like, I was not challenged. My soul felt like it was dying. I was getting all these physical injuries from sitting at a desk, which is the communication of the soul. And so I got into serving at restaurants, and I got into selling knives, okay? Got top sales in Cutco. I ended up quitting that. I was working in a restaurant, whatever. Then when I went back to school, studied acting, the rest is history. I learned the skill of sales with a product that I loved, Cutco knives. I still have Cutco knives. My whole family has Cutco knives. They had Cutco knives before I ever sold Cutco knives. I loved them because I used to cook in high school a lot in the summer. I almost went to chef school. So I was already behind the product, and I started going to family, friends, calling up relatives, all the people, and being like, hey, I have this great product. Can I show you and give you a demo? And some of them bought, a lot of them bought, and some of them didn't. I learned the skill of sales, and I realized, wow, I'm pretty good at this. And so all of these pieces were aspects, sorry, I'm getting updates for things I need to, aspects of skills I needed for my soul path. The cost of not following my soul, I can guarantee you, would have been major issues with my spine, because when I was working at that job, there was a lot going on with my spine. It was basically crooked at the time, and sitting there for like 9 hours or however many hours a day was like really not doing well. And it was also my soul's communication. So I remember another job years later, and I was learning about how our thoughts can make us sick and how our thoughts can make us healed. And what I realized is, if I am at this job for a long time, like, I literally am going to end up getting, like, I'm going to get cancer. I literally had that thought, and I kid you not, because it's caused by hidden resentment. And I started getting ill in other ways, and I'm like, I need to leave this job. So I ended up quitting and getting another job and following my soul, whatever. The point here is that is the cost. Now, the cost when we don't follow our soul is huge. All sickness, all disease of our energy field, all unfulfillment, is caused, all injuries, all skin issues, all pain is caused by us not following our soul. This is why I started this with, if we're unfulfilled in any area of our life, we're not on soul path. Because even in the process of following our soul to the destination we desire, which will keep expanding as you get to that, there'll be another, is fulfilling in itself. And the soul starts to speak. I have a whole series on this. Maybe I'll pop this in the series called Soul Speak. It is free for right now. DM me soul if you would like the Soul Speak series. I talk about this and I go into detail that when we do not follow our soul, the manifestations of that are injuries. This book. So I do intuitive reads and I will read the body and an injury or whatever the challenge is, and I will tell them exactly what their soul is trying to communicate. This book is a great book on this as well. I just ordered it, Metaphysical Anatomy. But our soul is speaking to us through physical ailments. Before it speaks to us through physical ailments, it will speak to us in challenges, in our friendships, in relationships. It will speak to us in finances. All of this stuff is a mirror. It is a mirror showing us where we are out of alignment and where we are not living up to our potentials. So, the cost of not making the choice that your intuitive guidance is telling you to make, and if you say you don't know what it is, you do. You're just not listening, or your intuition's foggy, or you're thinking your emotions are your intuition, which they're not. Then you need to do somatic work. The cost is not worth it. Like, that's all I'll say. The cost is not worth it. And so the reason, as I shared, is that we don't follow our soul is because we don't have mentorship, we don't have guidance, we don't have accountability, we don't have the community. So if you're desiring this, soul-led life is your container. It is your container. It is a 6-month container that will literally shift your life. Like, I am so excited about this container in ways you cannot expect. We are birthing businesses, soul-aligned businesses, new paradigms, lifestyles, luxury lifestyles, like whatever you want on a soul level, and having your work support that. And it's not even your work, your soul's mission support that. I was talking about this today in the Prosperity Portal membership, as I said, this is it is a manifestation, but it's different than it's different than the decoding manifestation, which I explained the science and how to manifest and create, and we had miracles in that. We had healing miracles. A girl healed her eyesight. She was going blind, which she found my story and how I almost went blind and then joined. We had people shift careers there, start very successful businesses. We had people manifesting trips. Somebody got a luxury car, like you name it. Now, soul-led life is having things birth through you. It's really in devotion to source, to God, to your higher self, to your soul path, your soul mission. And it's a different way of creation. It's a creation where you're truly in submission to your soul and you're co-creating with your soul. And this requires the dissolving of layers of the ego, of trauma, of limiting beliefs, of all the things. It requires you to be initiated into your self-led leadership. And it is going to be a fantastic, fantastic program. Like I said, I'm so excited. We have such an amazing group of people from all over the world. So the doors close on the 17th. The link is in bio. If you have any questions, DM me. If you're like, I feel the pull to this, and I want more information, or I'm not sure if it's going to help me, I'll literally give you a free mini intuitive read on how, if it is meant to help you, how it will help you based on what your intention is. We can also set up a phone call tomorrow or Tuesday and chat about if it's a good fit, because this is not for everybody. I will say this, like, this program is not for everybody. It is a different vortex of people than, say, the Prosperity Portal membership. Although there's many people that are in both. If you're like, I just want to get some tools, some more foundational tools, the Prosperity Portal membership has like 17 of my courses on prosperity, on money mindset, subconscious reprogramming, on healing the sisterhood wound, the fatherhood wound, on abundance, on manifestation, the science behind it, to actually ground it in 3D reality, because it's literally just science. On soul-led sales. It's called Soul Sales September. That's a 4-figure investment alone, and it's in the Prosperity Portal membership, which, by the way, is 50% off right now. And I don't know how long it'll be 50% off, but I just was guided to do that. So if you're like, okay, I just want to dip my toes in more so, we also have calls every month, live calls. If you want to dip your toes in, then I would suggest that. But if you're like, I am ready to literally like quantum leap my life and to become that version of myself. Like, I am right now scaling my business to the next level. We're at multiple 6 figures, but we're going through a quantum leap, baby. So I'm going to share all the tools of how I'm aligning to that version of myself and making those decisions right now. Like, I invested in a mastermind that felt like a really big stretch after investing also a lot earlier last year. I also invested in a private business mentor twice, 2-3 month investments that were significant. And I invested as the version of myself that is already a match to my desired intention. This is how we quantum leap. We don't make the decisions as our current self. When I hired my CFO, who's also my accountant and bookkeeper, like her business does all of it, it was a huge stretch. But I knew I needed somebody who really understood the ins and outs of write-offs and an online business and marketing expenses, and was like amazing at what she does and creative. And this woman, I referred my friend to her. She's like, I don't know how she wrote off all this stuff, but I was sure I was going to owe a bunch of money, and I don't owe anything. In fact, I think the government owes me, and it's all completely legal. So when I invested in her, I'm like, I don't know if I can. It's a significant investment that I pay her every month, but like, I made a decision that I deserve the best of the best, and I know there's ways to write off certain things that other accountants don't understand, because they don't even understand the nature of my business. And so I made that choice as the version of myself that was already a match. That's the next month, I literally doubled my revenue income. Not because of the meeting with her, because I actually hadn't had her first CFO call yet, but because I shifted identities in that. When I decided, I always use this example, I was going to hire a dog walker. In fact, I just added days on for that. I made the decision from the version of myself that is worthy of support, and so I can focus my time and energy into other aspects. Of course, I still walk my dog every single day, even when I have a dog walker, but he needs multiple walks a day. Let's be honest, he is a bucket of energy. So I made that decision from that version. When I decided I wanted to get massages bi-weekly because I needed to support my nervous system and my cup getting poured into, and that was going to help my clients, I made that decision, and the revenue was a byproduct. So many people are so stuck in their mind of like tomorrow or next week or next month or whatever. And like, if a decision's a no, that's okay. But you're staying in the gray zone, saying that you want the thing, saying you want more money or secretly thinking it, because like, honestly, when people are, unless you're at like 7 figures plus a year, you probably desire more money so that you could have the lifestyle that you want. It's just a fact. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with that, because when you're filled and when your cup's full, you will show up way better for whatever it is your job is or your mission is, or if you're a mom and that's your job, like you're gonna show up in that way more, as your best self, way more fulfilled, way more loving, way more magnetic. And so people are saying, I want more money, I want this lifestyle. And they're like, oh, is that bad? Does God think that's bad? No, God can only do for you what he can do through you. If you're thinking it's bad, you're blocking it, babe. So people say this, but then they're not willing to invest in the skills, the tools, the understandings, the energetics that will actually allow them to be a vessel to steward more wealth. They're not investing in the mentorship of the people who've already created that or are creating it or understand the energy of it. I mean, I've helped people who have made, one of my clients has made over $100 million. I haven't made that, but I understand the energetics so I could help them scale. You know, like, so we have to start thinking like, if my life doesn't change in this area that's frustrating me right now, then what is my life going to be in 2 years from now? It's going to be the exact same. It's like, well, it's a personal example, I don't want to share it, but I made an investment in something that I'm like, okay, I'm having the same pattern over and over and over here. This is clearly a Jill problem. This is a Jill problem. Jill's got to shift something. And so I invested in somebody who masters in that, because the vision I have involves the thing that they understand the energy of. So like when you or anybody hit rock bottom in life, then yeah, even when my friends don't help or make more fun of you. Okay, firstly, why are you hanging out with people who are making fun of you? Like, you need to be conscious of who you're letting in your life. But honestly, all my friends and family made fun of me when I started my business, when I was like, I'm an energy worker, or I teach manifestation, which I didn't choose to teach manifestation. People started asking me when I would tell stories. I started as a Reiki practitioner, and then a trauma healer, and then specializing in addiction, which, by the way, I have a $38 addiction healing seminar on the 28th. It's going to go up. It's on early bird until the 28th. It'll go up after to $88 on my website. We're going to do a healing in that. It's an addiction or compulsive behavior, compulsive eating seminar and healing. So when you hit rock bottom, that's the best place to be. It's the best place to be because you have no choice. We don't need to go to rock bottom in order to shift, but it is the best place to be because it makes you actually do the thing. And I'm saying this because I've been at rock bottom. I've literally not knowing where I was going to sleep some nights when I was in the States, in Florida, walking out of an abusive relationship with me and my dog and my luggage on the beach. Well, guess what? I had to figure it out. And God and I figured it out. But most people don't move until they hit rock bottom because human beings don't shift until it's easier to shift than it is to stay the same. And comfort is the death of the soul. So every time we get comfortable, we basically, if we're too comfortable, like it's the worst thing. It is the worst thing. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. I was talking about this today. In terms of wealth, because you're asking about money, there's a Chinese proverb that wealth only lasts 3 generations. Now, this isn't necessarily true, but I'm going to explain the energetics of this. The generation that builds it, sustains it, and squanders it. So the generation that builds it from the ground up. They have the character attributes to build it. The generation that sustains it and then squanders it goes into entitlement. They say skip a generation of wealth so that they know that they have to earn they're essentially, they have to create the wealth. They have to generate it. You don't do that by entitlement. And you also don't do that as a woman by working like a dude. That's masculine, feminine energetics. We're going to be teaching that and embodying it in soul-led life. So if you want to come to that, then I'll teach you all the things there. I've had to build a business that supports your lifestyle utilizing these energetics. Whether you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter, because the energetics are the same. Now, women have more magnetic energy, which actually, it's a little bit easier for us to magnetize money. That's a whole other story. To magnetize it, but men have other positive attributes that we don't actually embody at the level that they do because of their biology. Anyway, so we have to get to the place that we understand sacred reciprocity, that there is a circular motion. There's a give and take always, okay? This is quantum energetics. This is universal law. So some people need to hit rock bottom to actually move. But we can start to build our character to move before ever having to hit rock bottom. So if you're waiting to get to rock bottom to actually take accountability for your life, then that's your minimum standard. That's your choice. You need to work on leadership, self-led leadership. Somebody who's successful in one area of their life or one job is going to be successful basically at any job, because it's their character attributes that made them successful. When I was top sales at my serving jobs, those were my character attributes that made me successful, because I had built these character attributes when I was a figure skater and I was getting up at 5:30 every morning and I was skating until 10 p.m. And I was also, not that I'm an advocate of the current education system, but I was also in like IB classes, AP classes. I was a very good student because that was my character. And so I took these to other jobs, and I was anchored by a vision. There was nothing and nobody that was going to keep me from following my soul. Just like I talked about at the beginning, when I was in corporate and I was, quote, set for life, had I stayed at that job, and they thought I was going to go back every summer and intern and then go there after college, and I left after a month. I'm like, this is not for me. And so I had that fire. I had that will. My will was activated based on my vision. And I'm like, I'm going to go to New York and study acting. And that didn't seem possible. And then I got kicked out of my house. Then I came to a compromise, and I'm like, okay, I'll have straight A's in university, but I also want to study a full-time acting program on the side. And I made it happen. And then I booked my first role. And so these are other aspects of my soul path. And then I ended up manifesting going to New York and acting. And then I learned about energy and subconscious reprogramming and acting school. Like what? That literally informed the work I do now. But nobody, and then like I said, I served at restaurants and I sold knives. Nobody was going to stop me from what my soul was guiding me to. And so I think it was Peter who asked that question. You're missing that willpower because you're not anchored to a vision. We don't lack motivation. We lack vision. The vision. And our soul, this is why soul-led life is different than like my decoding manifestation program, which is not even open right now. Soul-led life is anchoring to the vision of our soul and allowing it to birth through us. In alignment with God, in alignment with Source, and activating our God-given gifts. I was talking to a girl earlier in the Prosperity Portal membership, a beautiful soul. If you watch this, I love you. She's in soul-led life, and she's looking at she's having things for her soul path to come through, and she wants to mentor people, and she's she's very gifted in what she does. She works in the 3D a lot with neuroscience and the body and healing and physical injuries. And I'm like, you're supposed to bridge the gap in this because the body's always speaking. It's a soul communication of what the soul's trying to communicate so that the injury doesn't reoccur, or another manifestation of what the soul's trying to communicate doesn't reoccur. I don't know how that looks yet. It doesn't matter. It's going to be birthed through her. I did the 35 years working. Is it okay? Stay still now. This is the, I don't know what happened in the last month, but my throat chakra got massively open. So let's talk about this for a second. Nothing's okay or not okay. The healing chemist. I think you said you're a Reiki master. Super cool. Me too. That's what I started in. So I want to talk about escapism versus following soul path in a second. So I hope we get the cost versus the price. The cost is all the things you're going to lose out on not doing the thing your soul is guiding you to do. Not making the investment your soul's guiding you to make. Not moving to the country your soul is guiding you to move to. I had 2 people in the prosperity portal that just moved across the world, and I'm so here for it. Like, I followed my soul. I'd been having this calling for a while. Good, amazing, great. There's something there for you. You don't need to know what it is. Like, I picked up and left Canada 5 years ago on a whim like that. I packed 1 suitcase, my dog, literally smuggled him across the border, got stopped in Costa Rica. We got him across the border though, so miracles exist. I didn't know you needed paperwork. Anyways, the point here is the cost. Like, if you don't want something more in your life, that's fine. But if you do and you're waiting, it's like, what are you doing? You're losing your most valuable resource, your time. And what's going to shift between now and a month or 2 months or 3 months? Literally, you're going to be in the same pattern. Something needs to shift. So there's an action you need to take, an investment you need to make, a choice, a decision that needs to happen. If you decide, it cuts off all other timelines. The etymology of decision literally means to cut off all other choices, essentially. So you've been essentially probably the healing chemist, like selling your soul or doing something that's out of soul alignment. You've been a slave to the system. I don't believe in retirement. Hi, Sally. I don't believe in retirement because my work it's a mission. It's not just for a paycheck. That's the slave system. So I used to have the paradigm, I have compassion for this, because I used to have the paradigm, let me just like work so hard and then, I'll invest all this money and then I'll get to retirement and finally I'll get to enjoy life and I've suffered so much. Well, no, you won't enjoy life by that point because you're suffering so much. So now your baseline is suffering. And why would you waste your life doing that? We only got one life in this body. And for some of you, you don't believe in reincarnation, so you only got one life ever. Either way, you only got one life that you will remember in the time of now. So there, as I said, if you're not fulfilled in doing what you're doing on path, even before the manifestation drops into your lap, meaning it's actualized, which takes time in the 3D world because we live in a physical world. So we create it in the quantum world energetically. We become alignment to it. We become the embodiment of it in the now before it happens, and then it happens. I'll give you a tangible example of this. I am currently becoming the embodiment of the woman I want to be in a marriage. I was not the embodiment of that before. So I have spent the last year and a half, it was bonkers. I had a thing come up that 2 years ago the other day, I was with my ex and like, what? I thought that was like years ago. But ever since that breakup, I started doing deep shadow work, deep inner work, masculine, feminine, energetics, like all of it to become the match of the woman that I desire to be a match to the type of man I desire to be with. It is very practical stuff, but it's all energetics. So I'm not married yet. And there's parts of the journey that have been uncomfortable. And it's also been fulfilling. When I was an actor and auditioning, the craft itself was fulfilling. The roles were cherry on top. In my business, the work itself is fulfilling. The money is a cherry on top. I feel like there's something missing when I'm not working. I like go and I went on this beautiful holiday to Argentina with my mom and my favorite actress and like the best people ever. And I was like, I need to share what's possible with everybody because I manifested that. The healing that I did in my lineage with being able to receive and the mother wound, and which actually isn't directly correlated with your mother. Like it's the lineage of the feminine, and how I didn't feel like I belonged or was wanted, the shadows I faced in order for that to manifest, and then the work I had to do to heal my horseback ride, my allergies to horses, which was my self-expression. Like, I'm like, I have to share this with people. If I just enjoyed it for me, like, cool. And it was so beautiful. And I'm like, I need to share these codes. So, and if we really understand like the codes of abundance, we realize we're the portal. Like, this is where you become the alchemist, and everything that you start to touch or be in contact with starts to transmute and turn to, quote, gold, energetic gold. People start wanting you around. They start valuing your presence. They start really like, and then abundance just comes in ways you can't expect. Not because you're trying to get it. That energy is just so gross. That, ooh, I'm just trying to get or manipulate. Like, I'm sorry, I'm in a gig. No, that is extractive energy, and it is quite atrocious. It's the energy of sacred reciprocity. And these are fundamental laws. So the last thing I want to talk about today is escapism versus following your soul path. Oh boy. How do I say this kindly? A lot of people are thinking that just floating in life is like, ooh, I'm following my soul path. But like, they're actually just in avoidance. What I mean by this is like, the people that don't have any sort of vision, they aren't actually anchored in character values. They don't have a mission that is pulling them. They don't have a vision that's pulling them. They don't have a mission that's pulling them. They're just completely in like la la land. This has happened so much in the spiritual communities. All my spiritual fam, I love you. Calling you out. Some of you are grounded in 3D, and I love that. So, the soul path is still grounded in 3D. It's not like you're just kind of in flow and let me think and I'll go if I feel and I committed to this thing, or like it's no. Like, what are you doing? It's not, oh, I just need like a year off to like figure out my path. It's like we learn by doing. I just said I took a gap year between graduating high school and going to university / studying acting. I did both, as I shared. I went to business school, studied psychology. It was going to be a double minor. I ended up dropping out, moving to New York and studying acting, and then I was studying acting full time. In that gap year, firstly, I graduated a year early. everyone told me it was stupid. I was like, I felt so much pressure, and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I just want to finish my skating gold levels so I could teach if I wanted to teach. And I had gotten really injured. Anyways, I'm like, I want to finish my skating gold levels because I couldn't finish them during high school because of the injury, whatever. And so I did that, and I worked, and I decided I didn't want to work in corporate, and I sold knives, and I did very well at that. And I love these knives. I still have them. And I learned about sales, and then I went into serving at restaurants, and the rest is history. But I didn't just, I'm just going to sit around all day. And I remember when I got injured at first, that summer, I basically sat around all day because usually I would go to summer skating school and I couldn't, and like watched TV shows. And my soul literally was like, oh my God, you need to do something. Like, so much creative energy. And I was so overwhelmed because the energy wanted to move. It wanted to create. And then I did all the things that I just shared with you. But the point is a lot of people are like, I'm going to suffer and struggle and stay at this for a slave check for a false sense of security, which it is false. We all saw in 2008 when the market dropped and a lot of people got laid off and so forth. That's where I realized, like, I don't know about this whole going to university thing to guarantee a job, because I don't think it does. And then I got a job that was pretty much guaranteed before I ever went to university. And I'm like, I don't know. I think everyone has this not necessarily, I don't think going to university guarantees a job. And also I got a job before going to university that people go to university for. So like, is this whole thing that people are saying like really the way it works? That was my first questioning. So the soul path still requires effort. It still requires you to show up. In fact, it requires you to show up for the things that are hard. The hard conversations with family, the deepest core healing, taking the leaps of faith when you're like, I don't know how this is going to work out. Putting the deposit for a retreat before you know if anybody's going to show up. I have a retreat, by the way, in, is it October 2nd to 5th? Links in bio. It's on early bird right now. We'll be marketing it soon. Versus escapism. Escapism is taking zero accountability. It's thinking that just taking time off and trying to figure everything out by not doing anything is going to help you figure it out. How did I know I didn't want to work in corporate so I didn't have to waste 4 years of my life, or 6 or 8 or whatever it would be if I got my master's, which is what I was going to do. I was going to get my master's in business. I can tell you, running a 6-figure business, I learned more about business, running a business, than my friends did in business school. And I see that by the results. We learn by doing. And so I learned very quick, this is not what I want. Thank God I got that job. Like, thank you, God. I love you. I love God. Thank God I got that job so I could learn what I didn't want to do and get more attuned to what I did want to do. So then when I left acting, it's because I started my Reiki business and I realized I felt so good after helping people actually change their lives, and like clients being like, this miracle happened and this shift happened and I healed this and all the things, and I talk to my daughter again, versus like I was in the grind and all the things, and then COVID hit shortly after, and there was certain requirements for auditioning and acting and being on set that I didn't adhere to. So I left and I was like, I want to do this Reiki thing for a while, and then we'll see if I go back. And then, you know, other healers took me under their wing and I mentored with them. And then I ended up studying shamanic healing and dry breath work. Well, I call it dry breath work now, but initially it was shamanic breath work mixed with soul retrieval, mixed with energy healing. I mixed tools. And so my point here is we don't follow the soul by just stopping And if we're overwhelmed, it's because the energy wants to move in action. It moves in action. And there's times that you need a rest. I told my Prosperity Portal membership community, I was in bed for 2 days last week. I'm like, what is going on? It's the end of the year of the snake. I got sick. I was like having fevers. And I did do an enzyme cleanse, like a liver cleanse. But this is before I did the liver cleanse. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what is going on with my energy? So my body was literally recalibrating. And then I woke up this morning and I had so much energy. And I was like, holy Toledo. Like, it was literally just recalibrating because we're going through a big purging process right now, energetically. The year of the horse starts on the 17th in the lunar calendar, which is the correct calendar. Anyways, that's another story. But the point is, if you're asking that question, already tells me you're a slave to a job that you really hate. You don't understand quite yet the fundamentals of energy, of receiving, of money, and how it actually works. I would highly recommend the Prosperity Portal membership. There's so many courses and teachings on money and activations of how it actually works, not how you were brainwashed to think of actually being a slave to a system so you can get out of the slavery. Yeah, you made a comfortable life. So our mind gets caught in effort versus reward. There's a more powerful paradigm. It's power versus effort. We also don't effort our way to success. We power our way to success. Anywho, we're coming to a close here today. So the cost of you not investing in yourself or following your soul is sometimes a lot of money that you literally, well, let's do some math right now. I remember when I started investing and understanding the energetics of money, and I invested in mentorship, because I started my business with zero knowledge. Like, I started it myself out of my apartment, let's be honest, with like mini ceremonies and then Reiki clients and so forth. I used to do ceremonies here that were $22, and I got two of my first mentorship clients that were around, well, the first one was 5,555, and then the second one I think was like 6,000 for 3 months from those ceremonies. Don't underestimate the power of your work, and sometimes you gotta offer lower ticket things and then they turn into higher ticket clients. But I was like, oh, I can't invest in this. Like, wait, I mean, they were 4 or 5 figure investments, and I'm like, that's how much you used to make in half a year. But then I was like, okay, if I don't invest in this and I stay in this trajectory, then I'm just going to be making the same amount over and over and over again. And if I actually start to learn, because these people are making like 5 figures a month, some 6 figures a month, if I can learn from these people and understand how they're doing it, well, this $10,000 or this $20,000 or $15,000 is not going to be a lot in the future. And so I started investing. The first investment was $3,000, and then it was $15,000 and so forth. But I started investing in people who were ahead of me, and that's how I started collapsing time. So the cost would have been massive. And it was for a while, because I didn't invest for a while. I mean, when I first learned about money energetics, I'm like, what? But I'm like, okay, clearly. And it took me probably 6, 7, maybe 8 months, probably 8 months at least, to invest in like one session. And then I was like, oh my God, I understand. Holy Toledo, a lot shifted. And so then I invested more. And it taught me that, I mean, money moves all the time. And if we're capping it going out, we're also capping it coming in. I had this conversation with my hairdresser the other day. Well, my blow, whatever. She's a friend that I actually used to work with, ironically, and I got my hair blown up. We were talking about abundance codes, and I'm like, you're into this stuff? What? Her mom's like a Buddhist monk. I'm like, what? I did not know this. The point is, It's either the cost in health, the cost in wealth, or the cost in relationship. I've had mentors for all three: health, wealth, and relationship. And sometimes all at once. So it's your choice. Are you willing to make the investment in yourself, in whatever that is? If that's soul-led life, amazing. If it's something else, amazing. If it's a detox program, amazing. I invested in one of those last year, which is how I learned about the enzyme detoxes. If it's in a money program, amazing. The Prosperity Portal membership has so much on that. If it's in a healer, amazing. Like, whatever that thing is for you. If it's in a dog walker, amazing. But what is the cost versus the investment? And you have to start, if you want to shift your life in any area of your life, you have to start acting as that version of yourself. It's like, as I shared, I am embodying the version of myself who is married to the love of my life. I'm not making decisions as my old maiden self. I'm making decisions, and my actions are lining up with those decisions as the version of myself that's already a match to that. So I'm not going and like partying and doing like reckless things. I'm not just casually dating. Like, that's such a waste of my time. That's not in alignment. I'm not giving my energy to people that I would never consider. I'm not saying yes to a date even with anybody I wouldn't consider to be a partner. And so of course you don't know till you get to know them better, but like, this is what I mean. Same thing in my business. You invest and then you expand. I hired a team when I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to pay them? But I couldn't do everything myself anymore. I needed to delegate. And then the business quantum leaped. So I hope this was valuable. Love you guys. Thank you for watching. We'll pop this on the Prosperity Portal podcast in due course, links in bio. But bet on yourself. Nothing's going to shift in your life until you shift. And when you shift, everything starts to match that. Okay. The Healing Chemist, I also protect my energy field. I feel like all healers are empaths, and that's one of the biggest things, is leaking energy. I also have a course on that. It's my energy protection course. It's called Data. It's on my website.
Hello, Secret Soul. I hope you loved that episode. And if you did, I would so appreciate if you could share and tag me on the social medias at Jill Alana Nixon. And if this brought you value, I would be eternally grateful if you could leave a 5-star review. And if you did, take a picture and email it to teamjillalananixon@gmail.com, and we will gift you a free cord cutting soul revival mini activation, a Jai activation. Put that in the show notes, the email, and thank you so much. We will see you again next week on the Prosperity Portal podcast.